That's the crazy thing to me, that people are still not getting the vaccine because it's free. Yeah, and as a Chinese person, I'm very offended. We love free shit. I'm showing up to these vaccine centers with Tupperware, like, fill it up. I'm gonna eat it for lunch all next week.
Hey Sharks, today we have brilliant stand-up comedian Irene Tu. So hilarious. I reached out and literally prayed that you'd respond, and here we are. Irene, I know you're in the middle of your tour and your album's about to be released March 25th. I have it marked on my calendar. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. Yeah, just been touring a lot over the country. Really glad that all the comedy clubs are open again. So stand-up's back. I was doing a lot of Zoom shows during the pandemic.
Right. How has that been like? What's like the best and worst thing about touring?
The worst thing is obviously the travel. It's just really brutal. I don't know why, but like every time you take a flight, it's just exhausting. It could be like an hour flight and you get off and you're like, I'm kind of tired. And then so if you fly across the country, a couple times over the week, it's exhausting. And then you're not sleeping in your own bed. But the best part is just doing shows in different cities and like just meeting new people, seeing fans, getting new fans. So that's always fun.
Is there a city that's like been really surprising for you? Like when you first visited?
Yeah, I did a few shows lately in like a couple cities I haven't really performed in a bunch. Like I did a show in like Kansas City, Missouri that was really good. It was
Cool.
like shockingly good because I've never really been to Missouri, and you wouldn't think like, oh, Kansas City, Missouri, a comedy town,
Yeah.
but they were awesome. And then I also did one in Boise recently that was really good too.
That's really awesome. So you're not a huge fan of traveling?
I mean, it's part of the job,
Yeah.
but it's like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I got to go to work, but it's me getting on a plane.
Are there things that you always pack with you to kind of make it easier?
I always bring my neck pillow, so I just try to fall asleep on the plane.
You've also been opening a lot for Taylor Tomlinson, who
Hmm.
is huge in comedy and also a really good friend of yours. So how the two of you meet? Is comedy a small circle? Like, do you all know each other, or is it kind of like by chance?
Yeah, I mean, it was by chance the first time that we met. We were both like booked to do the San Jose Improv. Like I was hosting and she was featuring at the time. This was like maybe 5 years ago. And then we just kind of got along and kept in touch over the years and kept working together. But yeah, I mean, comedy is small. Like there's like so many comics. They'll be like, oh, you were friends with this person who I'm friends with. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, there's also just so many comedians that I'll meet a new comic like every day. I'm like, oh, this is a new person I've never seen before. So it's like big and small at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into your album, but first, maybe a little bit about your background. So, how'd you get into comedy? Like, how old were you? Did you kind of always know that's what you wanted to do?
No, I didn't always know I wanted to do comedy. It's not really something like we did as a family. Like we never really watched movies or TV together. But as
Mhm.
a kid, I loved cartoons. Like I grew up on cartoons. I thought they were so funny. And I just didn't know you could be a comedian or this was even a job because my
Yeah.
family's very like academic. Like everyone went to like college, and then most of my family like went to med school, whether or not they became a doctor.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was kind of expected that I would go to college and then do more schooling after.
Mm.
But when I was in high school, I got really into like Ellen. Like I loved her talk show. And then I was like, oh, she started by doing stand up. So then I was like, oh, I want to be funny. And a girl told me I was funny, uh, that I liked. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll try comedy. I started taking like classes at the Second City, doing some improv because I'm from Chicago and such a big improv town. And then I got into stand up, and I realized soon after that I was better at stand up than improv. The
Mm.
stand up is like a solo activity that you say what you want to say and then people laugh.
Yeah.
Improv is just kind of bouncing off of other people. And, as an only child, I just work better solo. So I kind of just kept doing stand up. And then here we are 10 years later, still doing stand up.
Wow. So what'd you study in college then?
I ended up majoring in Asian American and Asian diaspora studies.
And so you just kept doing stuff throughout college and then just wanted to keep going with it.
Yeah, I honestly, like, in hindsight, I'm like, I probably could have dropped out because I'm like, why do I have a degree that I'm literally never going to use? It doesn't matter what I got my, degree in. It's like
Yeah.
if you stand up, like, you don't really need it, you know?
Yeah.
No one's asking for your college diploma to get into the comedy venues.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of was doing it a lot in college. So I was majoring, I was studying, but I was it was getting in the way of me doing stand up, honestly. So after I graduated, I just kept doing stand up.
How'd your parents react to you deciding to go into comedy? Like what did they think of the whole thing?
I never really made an announcement.
Yeah.
I kind of just did it and I kept doing it. And they've always just been like, yeah, whatever you want to do is cool. I'm sure they would prefer I was a doctor,
Huh.
but it's fine.
Do you let your parents come to your shows? Like do you
My
invite
mom's come to a few of my shows.
them?
I don't bring her to a ton because once she knows my jokes, she's like, "You're telling the same jokes?" I'm like, "Yes, this is how I practice." And she's like, "Okay, well, I already heard this joke, so bring me when there's something new."
Oh my God. I know you're from Chicago, and you lived in San Fran before. Where do you live now?
I live in LA now.
Oh, in Los Angeles. Oh, how's that been? Being
It was, as they say, it's pretty hard the first year, just kind of, just moving is difficult. But now I love it. So pro LA. Hate traffic, and everyone hates traffic. The weather's amazing. And a lot of my friends moved to LA too, so it's just nice.
I visited LA for the first time a few weeks ago, and I feel like it's a different country, kind of. Do you kind of feel that way? The
It's a
culture?
different country. What are you talking about?
It's just so different from I feel like everywhere else. I don't know. It like has its own like culture, like distinct culture compared to like other places.
I do feel like, well, California in general is more chill
Mm,
than the rest of the country, I think. Um, and parts of LA are like stereotypical where it is a lot of like influencers and like we're looking hot. But I don't know. I don't think it's like a different country. I don't know where you went.
Yeah, I'm not being a little biased. Yeah, so about your album now, insert smooth transition here. What's your creative process like when you're, coming up with material?
Yeah, so the album is kind of like a compilation of jokes that I've written over the past like 10 years, I guess. So there's some stuff that's like, well, I think one of the jokes is like one of the first jokes I ever wrote. And then there's some stuff from like a few years ago, and then there's like newer stuff I wrote in the past like year. But for me, my writing process is that I will just kind of think of I don't know, it's not very hard for me to think of premises necessarily. Like
Hmm.
I'll just kind of be walking around and be like, oh, that could be like a funny idea for a joke. It's just writing the actual joke out in the punchline that's difficult for me.
Hmm.
But usually it's just things that I notice happen a lot or things that bother me. Or if I'm talking to somebody, they're like, oh, that's funny. And I was like, oh, is that funny? I could make that into a joke. So I'll kind of just jot notes down and then try it out.
Yeah, well, your album is so funny. I can't
Oh, thank you.
emphasize that enough. It's so brilliant. Episode number 8, you drop something pretty shocking and big.
Or track 8, yeah.
It's also when you bring up the title of your album.
Which I don't want to spoil the joke. Obviously,
Yeah,
no spoilers for the joke.
not going to that. Buy the album and you'll get the joke.
Yeah.
How'd you end up picking the title? Like, did you decide that first, or was it kind of like listening back on your album and being like, I want this to be the main?
Yeah, it was definitely not first. I wanted to pick the title after I finished recording the album. So it took me like a few months to kind of put the order together of the jokes. And I was trying to add like a a callback or two in the album, so that I couldn't really do that till I ordered all the jokes. And then I wanted to name it something from the album that also kind of encapsulated me and kind of my humor in general and my outlook on life.
Yeah.
So it is named after something I say in the album.
Yeah.
But so the album title is We're Done Now, but that's kind of just like me as a person. I'm kind of a little crotchety, grumpy, you know?
Yeah.
Like I've been described as Larry David before. So I was like, oh, if it took like, it took so long for me to come up with a title because I'd ask friends, be like, what do you think I should name it? They'd give me ideas. I'm like, I just don't think that's it. Or I tried to name things that the jokes were about. And then finally it just like came to me one day. I was like, oh, I think that's the name of the album.
Yeah.
And then like once it came to me, I was like, that's it. That's the album. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the album is such a masterpiece. Like the way I feel like you balance light and darkness. I mean, you were sometimes talking about usually, you know, super things that people would find to be really offensive, and you twist it, and you managed to twist it into like a kind of message, and you do it so like with such genius. And I feel like comedy is such a gamble, you know, because you have to take a kind of millistep behind what you feel like people would then find offensive. Is that, I mean, do you find that to be true too, or?
Yeah, I guess with the album in particular, there are some tracks that are maybe more offensive or shocking. And I kind of just I try to like softball my way up to it, you know, because like the beginning of the album, it's like pretty light.
Yeah.
So I just try to like ease like my way into it and then do like the dark or like, you know, offensive joke, however you want to view it. And that's kind of how I just write my jokes in general, because I do think that I have a dark sense of humor. I like to I like to push boundaries a little bit. Like that's just like more interesting to me.
Yeah.
I wish I could just be like an observational comic that just talks about whatever, but that's just not me. I just don't think like that. So me, I just try to like couch it in something where it's like, oh, like here's, or I'll start the joke with like something shocking, I guess, where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna say this first, but then by the end of the joke, you're like, oh, that's what she was trying to say. Like, you know, I hit it at the end. So either it's like I ease my way up to it, or I hit you up top, and then you're like, oh, there's the joke at the end. But it's just like fun for me. It's like a game, you know, where I'm like, oh, can I win the audience over?
Yeah, and you do, and it's so satisfying. Like when you make that kind of change at the end, it's like as an audience member, it's like so satisfying to listen to.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's all I want is for people to be like, oh, like I get it.
Yeah. So do you say the same jokes in every city, or do you feel like you have to change it at a point when you like think about the politics or demographics of an area?
Well, I do mostly do like kind of the same material, or like I'm like, these are the jokes I wrote and I'm gonna tell them in whatever city I'm in. But if it's really going poorly, or I think they're not vibing with what I've planned, I'll try either like other jokes that I've written that I know will work in that situation, or I might try to, you know, do a little crowd work or something like that. But mostly I stick to the jokes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, in this last segment, I thought we could play a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
So you can just answer or say pass, and I'll just go to the next question, and just wait till this finishes. Okay. All right, here we go. Favorite holiday?
My birthday? I don't really like holidays, so it's hard to say.
Okay, good enough. Favorite season?
So summer.
Well, California makes sense.
Yeah.
LA. So season you hate the most?
Winter.
Winter. Most used emoji on text?
The laughing while crying emoji.
Favorite show to watch?
Oh, there's so many, but let's say Dead to Me.
Least favorite food?
Least favorite food? Ethiopian food I love, but it keeps making my stomach upset, so I'm gonna say that.
Best quality to have in a friend.
Honesty.
Ooh, honesty. Favorite ice cream flavor, and is it vanilla?
It's not vanilla. I actually love Earl Grey iced tea from Van Leeuwen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They don't pay me to say this, but I would love for them to sponsor me.
Well, if they're listening, here you go. Something people wouldn't expect about you.
That I'm really quite as boring as I say.
Time actually ran out, but I'm just gonna ask the rest because
please ask. I know. I know it was lightning round. I kind of give you longer answers.
Favorite city to perform in?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Go-to outfit for a show?
Ooh, kind of depends. I've been kind of changing my outfits over the years. I used to wear like a button down and suspenders, then I just wore a button down, then I wore a button down short sleeves. Then I would sometimes wear a t-shirt. Now I've been wearing like a t-shirt and a jacket. So either t-shirt and a jacket or like a short sleeve button down with like a funky pattern.
Favorite thing about Taylor Tomlinson?
Oh, about my friend Taylor Thompson. She's just an incredible joke writer and so funny, great performer, truly one of the best comedians out there right now. You got to go see her live, and great friend. And always makes fun of me somehow.
I know her posts about you. So funny. Let's see. Describe comedy style in one sentence.
Describe comedy style in one sentence.
Not really lightning round type of question.
I know, that's okay. Well, we passed the lightning part of the round because there's no saying anymore. Oh man, I hate describing my own comedy, but I would just say in general, it's like if Larry David was a millennial and very dark.
Wow, that's a great description.
Yeah, something like that.
Favorite Disney movie?
I used to get called Mulan all the time when I was a kid because I had long hair, which feels racist, but I'll say Mulan.
Mulan. Did you like the live version? Did you go watch it?
Oh, I did not. I was supposed to watch. I asked my friend for her Disney Plus login to watch it, and then I didn't end up watching it because everyone said it was bad.
A motto you live by? Or a philosophy?
I think just do your best and have fun.
Do you have any secret talents?
Oh, secret talents. Not really. I mean, I can play basketball. I played for like 10 years when I was a kid. So I would say pretty good.
Do you watch basketball too?
I'm not like an avid sports fan where I this team has to win, but I do like to watch the Warriors play, and my childhood favorite team was the San Antonio Spurs.
Are you into like the whole March Madness stuff going on right now?
I forgot it was happening until yesterday, but I actually like if I'm like in a hotel room and it has ESPN, that's kind of what I'll watch just for fun. But I don't like religiously follow any sports because that would just take up too much time.
Yeah.
And all the sporting events happen like when I have comedy shows, so there's just no time for me to watch. But I like to put it on in the background.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a commitment. Well, with that, thank you so much, Irene. Visit IreneTu.com. Buy her album. It is such a steal. Support Asian American talent. Support genius talent, period. Thank you so much again, and good luck on the rest of your tour.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and if people want to follow me on social media, it's at Irene_Tu. It's TU. That's probably the easiest way to, see what I'm doing. And yes, please buy my album. And I would highly recommend you listen it from top to bottom. Don't pick random tracks. I think it's better that way.